All right, time for another adventure. Got the trailer loaded up and we are going to pick up a car. If you saw previous video, my boys and I are interested in getting into some cheap racing, and we went and checked out a Lemons race, and I think we decided that maybe champcar is more our style. Either of them are relative for racing, cheap entries into racing. So we have been looking for a Miata to purchase for 6 months or so, and I've been scanning the marketplace and looking for one to buy, and we've located one. Actually, it's a 3.5 hours away, but pretty close to where an uncle of mine lives. So he went over and checked it out this morning and purchased it for me on my behalf. So I got to go pick it up and, you know, repay my uncle. It's a $1,500 Miata. Not entirely sure if we're going to turn it into a race car right now. From the pictures, it looks like it might be in really good shape, and just an amazing deal. If that is the case, it does need some suspension work done. It looks like it maybe ran off the road into a curb or something and bent some control arms or something. But if it's relatively inexpensive to fix and it's actually in good shape, the interior and the rag top and the body and all that is in relatively good shape, I may turn around and sell it and make a profit on it and use that to go buy a different Miata, and that might fund the car purchase and a roll cage. So we'll see what happens, but we are gonna hit the road here. I need to load up a couple of tools and some stuff and go hit the road and go pick it up, and we'll see what we get into. Got it pulled in. This is a warehouse that I use, and got it pulled in here. So we're gonna take a little walk around it and see what we're getting ourselves into, figure out if this is race car material or fix it up and sell it and buy another race car material. So my son's gonna show up in a few minutes. He's bringing a code reader because the check engine light is on. So we're gonna read those and just kind of check things out and see how this thing is doing. All right, we'll start with this side because this is the damaged side on the suspension. My understanding is that the girl who was driving this slid off the road, hit like a storm drain, and tweaked the suspension. This tire will not inflate because there's about a, I don't know, 5-inch chunk of the inside of the rim that's missing. And you can see that this wheel right now is kind of pointed straight, and then on this side we are not straight. This side of the suspension actually is good. It's just this is the way I pulled it in here. So it's that side that's squeaked. We're gonna have to lift it up and look underneath there and figure out what's going on. I think it's probably lower control arm. And we'll see. So I've got this thing running. The fans just kicked on. They hadn't been on till then, so I want to see if it overheats. But let me just check that real quick. Looks like it's good right now. So we've got a hood with vents in it. Not sure if that's legal for a champ car right now. Might have to get a different hood if we turn this into a race car. So I'll have to check on that and see where we stand there. There's a little bit of a crinkle. It's hard to see on the white, but there you go. There's a little bit of a crinkle in that front fender. But otherwise, the body is in really good shape. There's really not a lot of rust on it. Looks like it has some sort of aftermarket exhaust. There's a really small dent right there. Oh, there is a crinkle up on this side too. This may have happened at the time of the accident, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Has 100 and, let me look again. 127,000 miles on it. Let's pop the trunk. I did see when I looked the other day, or when we picked it up yesterday, there's a little bit of surface rust underneath where that battery sits. But otherwise, it's pretty clean. Jack's in there. We've got some trim here in the trunk. There's the battery hold down. So we'll need to affix the battery properly. There's some clear coat failure here. I'm not even sure because this says Vincent Custom Paint. Oh, this is vinyl or stick-on. I could probably peel this off and get back to regular paint. I don't, because the clear failure is actually here on this sticker. Yeah, I might be able to peel that off and get good clean paint around this thing. We've got a broken glove box. That's not a big deal. Ignore the garden sprayer that I stuck in here. I'm going to spray the engine bay off a little bit. It looks like probably ill-fitting aftermarket carpet was done at some point. So I might price out some carpet and see how much carpet is. Because it's off down here too. It's just not very well done. And then we've got an airbag and a check engine light on, so I'll have to look into those things and figure out why those lights are on and what it might take to fix them. I checked the oil. Oil looks relatively new and is full. Looks like we might have a drop or two down there just sitting and running for the last 15 minutes or so. So we'll have to see what kind of oil leak we've got. And I've got a little bit of a tick. I don't have a lot of experience with these 1.8s, so I don't know if that's normal or not. I'll have to do some research. But everything looks pretty stock in here. Oh, the headlights, I tried them already. They work. Let's see here. Pop-ups, both work, and they've got, you're gonna get blinded, but they got the halos in there, hard to see. And all the tail lights work, I think. Yep. So, seems like a pretty solid platform to maybe fix up and resell. We'll have to price out a few things and figure out if it's worth it. Okay, this is a 96. It was made in November of 95. And we can't find an ODB2 port, but there is this diagnostic port up in the engine bay. So I'm gonna have to do some research because maybe there's a converter. I thought all 96s were supposed to have ODB2. This was made, again, November of 95. So it is a 96. We jacked it up, and I think I've found the problem. I think it was actually hit on this side because there is a lot of positive camber in the driver's side when that wheel is pointed straight. And there's grass here, and this rim was clearly hit. So I think it buckled and then skipped across. And on the back side of this wheel, it tore out a chunk of the aluminum. So I think whatever the girl hit came from this side, probably a piece of concrete, a curb or something, and then took out this side. The control arms look pretty straight. I've looked at both sides. I don't see any problems, but this right here is buckled under. It kind of goes up right here and then out. And if I compare it to this side, it doesn't buckle under. This is kind of a smooth radius right here. So I think we're looking at replacing a subframe underneath here. The control arm on this side looks decent. I mean, it needs a new tie rod end, but that's not damage from the wreck. The upper control arms look decent. So I think we might just be looking at a subframe. I'll have to price one out and figure out how much that is. Okay, new subframe is in. I went and picked it up and sprayed a little oven cleaner on it so I can get it degreased. It's already fairly clean, but I want to get that last little bit clean. And I don't have time fully to do this swap this afternoon, but I am going to go ahead and start unbolting some stuff in here. It looks like I'm going to probably start with the steering rack right here. Sorry, it's a little dark under there. So unbolt the steering rack and then unbolt the upper and lower control arms on the front. And then got my engine hoist here, and I can work on starting to support the motor with the hoist. And then I can unbolt the subframe and drop that out. I think that's about all I have to do is just unbolt the upper and lower control arms in here, and then end the steering rack, and then drop it. Oh, sway bar. I gotta remove the sway bar too. So let me get to it. Well, I started cleaning this off, and it might be hard to tell on camera, but this thing was probably in a front end collision. This is tweaked right here where the paint's missing. You can tell on this side the line is much smoother, and then on this side it's kind of crinkled. So I don't know how bad this rack is, but I can definitely tell it's been hit and tweaked right here. So called the place where I picked this up at. It's not that visible unless you're looking super close, so I'm not blaming them at all, and they are happily gonna pull me another one from their inventory, and I'm gonna take this back to them and swap it out for one that should be straight. Well, the yard swapped me out, so I've got a new subframe that is in good condition. You can kind of see some residue. I've already gone through and cleaned it up a bit. And I have jumped in here and started to take things apart. So the control arms are disconnected, both the lower and the upper here. This is disconnected on both sides. And I've also removed the motor mount bolt that is up in here. So that is free. I'm about ready to put the engine on this hoist so that the hoist is the one supporting it. And then I think from what I've seen, there are 6 bolts holding this subframe in. Looking at the one out of the car, it looks like probably here. And then 2 up here. 2 at the top here, and then 1 lower one down here. There might be one here too. I need to look, but so 6 or 8 bolts, 4 on each side. Oh, the steering rack is also unbolted from the subframe here. So I believe this is enough room for me to just unbolt it and lower the subframe out. We're about to find out, but I think I can do it this way. It looks visually like I can. So let's get to holding up this engine and seeing what we can do. The other thing I've noticed as this has been sitting here for a week or two is that there is a pretty significant oil leak on the front of this thing and one in the back. In the back, I've traced it to, looks like probably a leaky valve cover gasket and probably a leaky, I believe it's called a CPS, the crank position sensor or cam position sensor. So I've got the gaskets for the valve cover and the CPS on the front. I'm not sure if this is cam seals or front main. I'm gonna have to dig into that, but I'm gonna swap out this subframe first before we get into that. But that is definitely a significant oil leak that I need to get corrected.
Got my foot down on the gas now. Can't you feel it as we tear through? Take my chances on these wild roads. Baby, trust me, I won't let go. Engines burning, wheels are turning. Can't slow down.
Well, I don't know if you could tell or not, but a couple of those were kind of hard. Maybe because this subframe is tweaked and there was some pressure, lateral pressure on the bolts or something, but I got them all out. I also, well, I left one up there right now because I want to do the other side first, and then that'll kind of help support it up there. And I left all my power tools at home. I'm not actually at my house right now. I'm in a warehouse, so. But while I'm laying underneath here, working on this, giving my shoulders a workout, just look how clean this thing is underneath. Aside from the oil, which we're going to take care of, the dripping oil, but there is like no rust underneath here. This frame rail's pinched a little bit here from a lift or something, but the undercoating's all there still. This thing is really nice. So I think I said at the beginning of this thing that we were gonna build a race car out of this, but I am starting to have a hard time justifying tearing into such a nice example. I mean, it's got its little issues here and there, but no rust Miata, at least in this area, in the Midwest, that's hard to find. So we may end up turning around selling this thing and then trying to find something else. I got a good enough deal. We could actually make a little bit of money on it and use that for funding building a roll cage or something. Well, let me get to the other side, pull that off, and then we can start dropping this subframe. All right. I've got a jack slid underneath there in the center of the subframe, and the other side is undone, except for that one nut. Got one nut on the top here on this side and over on that side. So I'm going to set you down and we are going to start working on pulling this thing out. I hope that undoing the control arms and the steering rack is enough. I think it will be, but we're about to find out.
See the signs pass like a fast flash. 10 miles more now. Push it harder.
And we're out. Not really that big of a deal. I did miss one bolt. Let me show you on the new rack. There is a support bracket, a little 12 millimeter that supports one of the power steering hoses. So I didn't catch that one. I had to disconnect that mid pull down, but other than that, not too terrible. So I'm going to spend some time, while I've got this in easy access, I'm going to spend some time cleaning all that out, making it nice and pretty, even though I know we've got an oil leak. But it'll be largely clean oil leaking on it and not road grime. And then we'll get the oil leaks corrected. Well, it is all in. Actually, this is not holding any weight on it right now. And I have moved the jacks up to the lower control arm so I can put the suspension under load. But I had to use a ratchet strap to kind of pull this passenger side of the subframe back toward the back of the car, because it was like a 1/4 inch off from getting into the hole. But all in all, it wasn't a huge deal. And then everything else has been pretty easy. You put it back together the way it came apart, and took some time to clean underneath here. Got lots of grease underneath. There's still a little bit. It's not perfect, but I'd say there'd been an oil leak here for a little while, because there was plenty of road grime from all the oil. So put the suspension under load. I have the pickup points all tightened down, so we should be ready to slap some tires on there. And I went with max negative camber because Miata life. There's no reason not to max out the negative camber on a Miata. So that's where we're at. And I think we can throw some tires on here. I've got some parts on order for the oil leak. When those come in, we can get to working on that. And this boot here on this side is actually torn on this tie-in rod, so we'll throw a new one of those on there too when it shows up. Well, I was able to locate a full set of NB wheels on Marketplace. Super cheap, 150 bucks. The paint was coming off of them, so I've been slaving away taking the paint off first with spinning bristle attachment to my drill, and then I'm going over with sandpaper. I've got 2 of the wheels done, so I've still got 2 more to go over with sandpaper, and then we're going to paint them. I think I'm going to paint them white. These are maybe slightly larger diameter by about 1 inch, so it'll raise the car about 1/2 inch, I think. I think these profile tires are maybe a little bit larger than the stock NB even, so I did a calculation. It's about 1 inch in diameter larger, so that'll change the speedo a little bit, but going from the 14 to 16 inch wheels should actually make it look better. And the price of these for 150 bucks was cheaper than I could find 2 replacement daisies that are shot on the car. So, and the tread's actually really good, so this was an excellent deal. So I'm going to get these painted up, and here are the wheels now that they've all been painted up. I think they came out pretty good. So they are 16s. What's on there are 14s, so this will be a little bit bigger and a little bit less sidewall. I think it should look pretty good on that car. So we will get these thrown on and then put it down on the ground.
Life keeps pushing, I keep running. No tomorrow, just this moment. With you here now, nothing matters but this feeling as we fly.
There it is. I think it looks Pretty good with the white wheels. We discovered a little Easter egg when we changed these out in the rear. We've got aftermarket coilovers. I don't know what brand, but those are aftermarket coilovers in the rear. So that's nice. We probably still need to do an alignment on the front, but I think we might take it out and go for a little drive. Slid around.
Did it?
Yeah. Well, we pulled it out of the warehouse and took it for a drive, and it's a lot of fun. It definitely needs an alignment, so we're going to get that done. But as I've continued to contemplate, I am increasingly convinced that I'm just going to go ahead and fix this thing up and sell it. I am not sure what to do with that hood right now, so I think most likely I'm just going to take it off and paint it black. If I paint it white, it's going to be missing the blue stripes. So even if I could get the white close, the blue probably will still look off and won't match the racing stripes that are on the front bumper and on the back. So at least black makes some sense. Maybe I'll do a kind of Racer. I don't really care for carbon wrap, but maybe it makes sense in this case. I'm not sure. If you got ideas, throw it in the comments, I guess. But I am gonna, I think, start with pulling the hood off and looking at the oil leaks. I think we're probably looking at the cam seals or the lower crank seal. Either way, got to pull the timing belt off to do that. So I think I'm going to jump into this and go ahead and replace the timing belt, replace all the seals, valve cover gasket, and might as well make it a nice car for the next person so they don't have to do much to it. So let's jump into it. All right, I just pulled off the valve cover, and this is definitely very flat. So that gasket needs to be replaced, but all in all, let me turn this light on. It really looks pretty good in here. I don't see any issues with the cams, really. Everything looks pretty good. No real varnish in here. There is, maybe hard to see, but there is a pool of oil. Let's see if I can get some light down there. I don't know if I can or not. There's a pool of oil. There, you can kind of see it right there. A pool of oil sitting in the bottom of this cam here. It's wet on this side, but this side definitely is a little puddle sitting there. So I would say this cam seal is definitely bad and maybe where most of the oil is leaking from, but got to pull this timing belt off to replace that anyway, because that timing belt's got to come off, and this cam sprocket has got to come off to replace that seal. So if I got to pull all that off, which means I got to pull all of this off, might as well do the timing belt while I'm in here. Although this doesn't, like, I don't see any cracking. Doesn't look bad, but we're gonna go ahead and do it so that new owner has some peace of mind that all of this has been done. I'm starting to see why Miata is such a popular platform to mod, to work on. This is about 45 minutes in, and I have almost everything disassembled. I don't have my timing belt yet, so I'm going to stop here but I've got pretty much it all torn down so I can do the timing belt. I'm going to have to pull that lower sprocket off to get to the seal behind there, and the 2 cam gears will have to come off too. But I'm going to wait until those parts show up so I can do that. I've already cleaned in here a little bit, not a whole lot, and you can see clearly how much this cam seal, was leaking. So while I wait for those parts to show up, the O-ring for the cam position sensor is here already. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that on, and then we will get back to this when the parts show up in a couple days. Well, I had a little extra unused white paint sitting in my garage. It's actually Toyota white, but under the hood, I'm not sure you'll notice that much of a difference. It'll be white and close enough. And there was some rust on the wiper arms, so I went ahead and brought them home and sanded them off. And I thought about painting them black, but went ahead and went white. We'll see how it looks. So I need to throw a couple more coats on this, and we can throw it back on the car when we get the timing chain complete, or timing belt complete. Okay, we're back at it. And I've already locked the cams together using this trick I found on another YouTube video, rather than purchasing the tool that's used for this. Pulled the belt off. Let me show you that real quick. Here is the old belt. It actually doesn't look that bad. There's no cracks in it. There's no date code that I can find, but oh well, it does show signs. I've seen signs in here that indicate the belt's been replaced before. But out of precaution, I have the new belt sitting here, and particularly wanting to address this. I don't know if this is leaking. In fact, I suspect it's not leaking. I've already cleaned up in here. I suspect the main leak is up here at this cam seal, just because it shows signs all the way through here of a leak coming down. But I'm here. I might as well throw a new crank seal in there. I've got one here, so I'm going to pick that out and then gently tap this in. I don't actually have a socket large enough for this, so I'm just going to very gently tap, tap, tap in a circle around and put it back in. But that should be good enough. So we will pick that. I've got some picks here, so I'm going to pull that crank seal out and then throw the new one in here, and then we can start putting it all back together. Reverse assembly. Getting it buttoned back up. I have the new belts on here, timed correctly, and finished up installing the cam position sensor. It is hard as a rock. I mean, it's hard to tell on video, but this thing is rock hard. So definitely the source of a serious leak back there. So new O-ring is installed. It had been replaced before because the witness mark is right here that you make when you replace that. So I am going to continue throwing this thing back together. Should be able to getting it buttoned up relatively quickly here.
Yeah.
We are making progress. That is not necessarily the greatest paint job ever. And white might not have been the right choice, just because it shows a lot of dirt and grease. But it's what I had and was handy, and it kind of matches the white of the car. So it's better than just an unpainted valve cover. My daughter here is skating around and lending me a little hand at times. So I have the wiper blades thrown up on there, valve cover buttoned up, and the front of it pretty much buttoned up. I need to grab a torque wrench, so I can't do the main crank bolt right now. So I'll have to come back and do that. And then throw the radiator and fans in, and we should be, and then fill it. Obviously, it doesn't have any coolant. I need to change the oil on it still, so I need to do that, and then we should be able to fire this thing up and give it a test run. And then before I really go drive it, I'm going to address this hood. I think I'm just going to buy some paint. I bought some just black automotive paint, and I'm just going to paint it black so that at least it's one color and not 3 different colors here. You know, it's kind of unpainted there and primer and whatever's going on here. So we're going to paint that, throw it back on the car, and we should be ready to drive this thing around a little bit. Might take it to an autocross before we sell it. We'll see. Probably going to see if I can buff out this paint a little bit. It's not got a lot of shine. So, oh, and I still need to do the alignment on these wheels, so I need to get to that. But that'll be for another day. It's about dinner time and time to head home and eat some dinner. Everything is back together now. And I ran out of distilled water, so got to go to the store and get some more of that. But before I head off and do that, I am going to start on this tie rod end down here. This boot is ripped, as I mentioned before, so we're going to get that replaced. And then do an alignment, and then fill this thing up with fluids and start it up.
Can't slow down. Baby, hold on. We can't slow down.
And like that, we have a tie rod end in. I did not tighten this nut because we still need to do an alignment. So that needs to be loose anyway. So we will get this started on an alignment process.
Alrighty then. So some of you that have been around for a while may have seen me do this in the past, but for anyone that's new, these are alignment plates, and they're fairly cheap. You can buy them all over online, and they're just basically aluminum plates with slots cut out of them. You could probably make them out of a sheet of plywood if you wanted. And then on the bottom, I have this plastic bag, and I've put a couple of layers of plastic bag with just engine oil underneath between each layer so that the whole surface is slick and the wheel slides easily. Because you don't want your tire binding against the floor. I've got it evenly spaced on these blocks, these lifting blocks, just so I can get underneath here easier and get to the tie rod ends, the tie rods, and adjust the length. And what you're looking for is the distance. You need 2 identical tape measures that go into these slots, and you're looking for the distance. And generally in most cars you want a little bit of toe in. So, and you can look up the specs on your car, see what is suggested. I haven't looked it up on this Miata, so I'm about to look it up after I record this and figure out what it is. But you know, you want maybe a 1/4 inch of toe in or whatever, and you dial in your tie rods to match that. So I'm going to look up that spec and then start adjusting to get this thing aligned. And the steering wheel, by the way, is straight right now. You kind of want to make sure that it's straight while you do this. And like that, the alignment is complete. Well, I got to take it out and drive it still to test it, but everything should be drivable except getting some more distilled water. So I guess I'll run to the store and get that, and then we can take this thing for a drive without a hood. I'm not going to put the hood on it. Fired right up, and I am bringing it up to temperature now that I've filled it up with some coolant so that it can circulate and we can check and make sure the coolant levels are good. So while that is warming up, I've been sanding, and I'm about ready to give this a wipe down, clean it up, and maybe start laying the first layer of paint on this thing while the Miata comes up to temperature.
On the gas now, till the end now, can't slow down. Got my foot down.
Well, I don't know what I did with the paint can, so I'm gonna have to locate that and come back to that later. But this thing is warm now, and it's holding steady. Temperature's not rising. It's been warm for a little while, and it's holding right there in the middle, so that's good. I am going to go ahead and back it off of these, take it off the blocks here, and just turn it around a little bit. I want to move it to a spot where there's nothing underneath the ground, because there's excess oil and coolant and stuff underneath there from the whole job. So I need to clean the floor underneath there, but I also want to move this to a dry spot so that I can monitor and make sure that we have corrected our oil leak. The oil leak was definitely heavy after having been run, and because I think it was linking from these cams down, and then after it had been sitting for 2 or 3 days, it seemed like, or maybe even just one day, the oil leak kind of subsided and it stopped puking so much. So we'll get this thing down, get it to a dry spot, and then monitor it for a couple days and make sure that we have correctly addressed the oil problem. Well, I never did find that paint, so I had to order more. No idea where it went, but the new paint arrived, and got the first layer, just a light coat, tacking up, and we are gonna lay some more coats down in a few minutes and get this thing painted up, and then lay it on this side maybe in a day or two after it hardens well, and paint the underneath side. So we'll get this one color at least. One more thing I'm gonna address as I get this thing ready to sell is the rust back here. This is really the only rust on the car, and it's really just kind of surface rust, but I've got a bottle of what is it, POR 15, and so we're going to put that in here, take care of some rust, and then get this battery mounted back in here. And other than that, I mean, this thing is really rust free, so we're going to make sure we take care of this here. Yeah, see, it's clean up there, so we'll just take care of this right now. Probably a battery went bad at some point and leaked or something, I don't know, because everything else is rust free. So we'll get this taken care of and then throw the battery back in. While that POR 15 sets up, we're going to address this glove box. So this handle was broken when I bought it, and I picked up off of eBay a new latch for it. So everything else about the glove box is fine, but I need to swap out this piece here so that the glove box can open. It closes, it just, you can't open it without kind of prying and risking hurting it. Okay, these two little screws come out of here, and then this part that I picked off eBay does not have the lock tumbler. I don't even know if it's a real tumbler or not, but so we're gonna move this over. It looks like this cap comes off of here, and then what do I gotta do here? I don't know, let me play with this, but I gotta figure out how to, oh, maybe there's a, yeah, it looks like a little tab. Press in right there, so, and one on the bottom. So, let me get two hands and then I'll move this over. Should be able to throw this back together.
Baby, trust me, I won't let go. Engines burning, wheels are turning.
And just just like that, we have a nice working glove box. Okay, well, I drove this thing home. The last couple of things like the POR 15 in the trunk and a couple other things were taken care of here in my garage, and drove great home. No alignment, perfect, or no problems with the alignment. The steering wheel is perfectly straight when I drive, so that's great. It doesn't pull to the left or the right, so the alignment is good, and everything felt good driving home. When I got it home, I went ahead and threw a new O2 sensor in up here because it's throwing a code for that. So the check engine light is on. Hopefully that goes off here shortly with a new O2 sensor in it. And everything is pretty much done. The paint isn't great. It's better than what it was, but I wouldn't say it's great. It definitely could be use a repaint at some point, but this is as far as I'm going to take it. It's a good solid driver now, not leaking oil everywhere, and obviously corrected front suspension, and I'm just not going to tear it apart and turn it into a race car because it's just in such good condition. There is some slight hail damage here and there, not on the hood, but on some of the fenders and the trunk. You can see it just barely. So it's by no means a perfect example, but it's in pretty good shape. I'm going to be throwing this up on Facebook Marketplace, and this video will probably go with it so that any prospective buyers can see all that was done to the car. It's a fun little car to drive. The Miata and the Corvette back there weigh about the same, and there is a massive difference between 100 horsepower and 600 horsepower at the same weight. But still good fun in the corners, and blast to drive with the top down. So it'll be for sale, but that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and I'll hope to see you on the next one.